All right, Steve. Mary asks, can you talk about 1 Corinthians 15:29?
Okay, let me get there. 1 Corinthians 15:29. Okay, otherwise, what will they do who are baptized for the dead if the dead do not rise at all? Why then are they baptized for the dead? This is one of those passages. It's in the middle of a section that's talking about the resurrection of Christ, and when Paul gets to this section here, he's dealing with the Corinthian church. And he talks about, in this passage, as it says, people being baptized for the dead. And I read a commentary one time that said that there were at least 40 different interpretations of that passage. And so it's one of those passages that we don't know exactly what Paul was talking about when he said this stuff. I've got another commentary here that says up to 200 explanations have been given of this verse. And so, baptism for the dead, this is a passage that the Mormons use to say that their practice of going up and looking up lists of people who have died outside of the Mormon church and having a Mormon baptized in proxy, which means that they're doing it in the place of this dead person's name, this dead person, and baptizing them basically into the Mormon church so that they can get into, a higher spiritual heaven. And that is completely foreign to the New Testament, completely foreign. Some of the interpretations of this passage have been that what the Corinthians were doing was filling ranks. So when somebody would die in their church, then they would baptize another person to kind of fill in the place of the people who had died. Some people have said that the dead that's being spoken about in this passage is literally Jesus, and so the one I'm being baptized for is for Jesus. So in other words, when I get baptized, it's like the Bible teaches that when you get baptized, it's like a burial. So that's out of Romans chapter 6. Don't you know that those of you who have been baptized have been when you're baptized into Christ, you're buried with Christ in baptism and then raised from the dead. And so it's a picture of being dunked into the waters, being buried, and being pulled up out of the water is being raised from the dead. And so there are all kinds of interpretations of what that could be talking about. And frankly, I don't know what it's talking about. I just know this. That when you look at this passage, Paul doesn't say, what will we do who are baptized for the dead if the dead do not rise at all? Why then are we baptized for the dead? Okay? And so he doesn't make it an inclusive thing. He's talking about some group in the Corinthian church that's doing this baptism for the dead thing while they're at the same time denying the resurrection. And he's saying basically it's just nonsense. And so ultimately, I can't give you a final answer on that whole thing. And like I said, it may have been some weird thing where they just decided that we're only going to have 150 baptized members in our church, and every time somebody died, they'd fill in that number. Or it may be something where they're talking about Christ as far as the one who had died and I'm being baptized in him and that kind of thing. But again, it could be any number of things. So we just don't know.
Okay.
So,
all right, Mary. Hopefully that helps. Thanks for posting today.